welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Jordan Shelton with GuidePoint Security, and we're very excited to be partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Jim Fitzgerald, Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer at Western and Southern Financial Group. Jim, welcome, and we appreciate you taking the time today to talk with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we dive in, I've got a number of topics I'd like to touch on. Do you mind describing your role and some of the responsibilities within Western and Southern Financial?
Sure. So like you said, I'm the Senior Vice President and Chief Information Officer for the company, responsible for the overall technology strategy. The technology strategy, I believe, is the underpinnings for how we're going to grow our business. But just partnering with all the senior business leaders and making sure we're delivering the right solutions to producers, agents, customers.
Wonderful. No, thanks for sharing that. So some of the topics for discussion today are digital transformation, how you and your organization are retaining quality resources in today's competitive environment, technology integrations through acquisition, the threat landscape that is ever changing, and then lastly, Western and Southern in the community. As I mentioned to you previous to us getting started here, I'm from Cincinnati originally, and I know Western and Southern is a household name that is highly involved and supportive of the community here. So, that's always, it's great to see that, and like to touch on that a little bit too as well. So sure. Let's get started. So right off the bat, what is Western and Southern's vision for its digital transformation, and how and why is it key to serving your customers and your business partners?
Right. So the topic of digital has been in the industry now for a while. It's heated up in the last few years. Really, to keep it, what I like to do is to keep it as simple as possible. Is we just need to be able to show up to our producers, our agents, and our customers on their terms, right? We're competing with iPhones, we're competing with banks, major corporations, and I think that the ease of doing business, you've heard that tagline for probably a decade, right? Knowing your customer, making it easy to do business, that's really the underpinnings, right? And that's in everything that we do. We know we have the right financial solutions. It's how do we get that to our producers, our agents, and our customers as seamlessly as possible.
Yeah, digital transformation, it's you're never going to fully get to that, that point where like, all right, I'm now fully digitally transformed, right? What challenges have you guys faced as you continue to go down that journey? You're giving customers access in different ways, which could create risk, create, more issues than, previously when they're only accessing via website or something along those lines. What challenges has this created for you as an organization, and maybe some areas that you could share where you've learned some things, right?
Sure. I think the challenges are, it's really about, you could wind up chasing, right? You can wind up chasing digital. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to be, as good as your competitors or better. You obviously have to be better than your competitors. However, we're not an iPhone. There's so many other apps and things out there. So you need to pick your targets of what you want to deliver to the customer as efficiently as possible. Some of the risks in that are we've expanded, now you have multiple touch points. Customers are coming in via mobile, many different ways. Producers and agents are coming in many different ways. You have to protect all those ways, right? So security plays a big role in that. Multi-factor authentication, really knowing who the customer is and how they're accessing. But another challenge that I've seen in the industry, I refer to chasing. You can wind up spending a lot of money if you're not careful. If you're not, if you really don't understand your customer and what they want and need, you can wind up spending a lot of money and going down paths that can be expensive. And then you can look back in 2, 3, 4 years and say, maybe shouldn't have done that, or maybe shouldn't have made investments in certain platforms. So I think it's having a pragmatic view, but really understanding what the customer wants and what they need is a recipe for success.
Yeah, and you mentioned, trying to make sure that you're not getting 4 years down the line and then you're seeing, wow, we missed the mark there. Who, what others within Western and Southern, what other business units are you guys working closely with as you put your strategies together around digital transformation, right? Of course, information technology needs to be a part of that because they're kind of building the base, but who else are you guys working closely with?
Sure. I really think it's all aspects of the company if you think about it. We're a large Fortune 300 organization, but we're partnering with marketing. We're partnering obviously with IT security. We're partnering with Gerber, right? We've learned a lot from our Gerber acquisition. They're one of the largest direct-to-consumer life insurance distribution channels in the country. We've learned a tremendous amount from them. We're partnered closely with them. Partnered with the product development teams, right? Because it also comes down to the product, right? We have to have a product that's valuable to the customer. So it's really everything across the organization, all of us working together. It's a big part of our strategy, digital, and how we grow from there.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Great insight, and I appreciate that. So moving on to our next topic around retention in this competitive market space. How is attracting, retaining, and developing talent crucial to Western and Southern success, historically, today, as well as looking down the road into the future?
Sure. So COVID turned everything on its head, right? From a workforce perspective. You see it every day. You read about the Great Resignation. You read about the fight for talent. You're also reading about, though, if you watch the news lately, a lot of the companies that were early on in the pandemic were going to be full remote are starting to change their tune, right? Google's now pulling folks back into the office. I think hybrid work is going to be around for a long time. I think full remote roles are going to be around. These things are not going to go away. But the thing about Western and Southern, where we've excelled, we've been around for 134 years, right? And as an organization, you don't get that longevity without being calculated about what you do, right? So we've proven to ourselves
Agreed.
that we can run the organization. We ran the organization remote through COVID, but we also value the in-person aspects of culture, right? So we're watching the industry, our own industry, financial services, insurance. We're watching the broader workforce, and we realize that if we need talent, we're going to have to go to where that talent is to get it. But at the same time, we're not going to jump off that cliff and say, okay, we're fully remote and let's jump on the latest fad. I don't mean that remote work is a fad. I just mean that it's happened so quickly on the entire workforce, the entire globe, that I think we're going to pick our spots correctly. But I'll say this, Western and Southern, again, back to being a 134-year-old institution, a lot of security in working for this organization, right? We're a very well-known institution. We have a great pension plan. We're one of only I think maybe 13% of the Fortune 500 organizations still offer a pension. A lot of the kids nowadays, I'm only 48, but a lot of the younger folks don't necessarily understand the value of a pension until you're in your mid-50s, and then you realize, only if I had a pension. But
absolutely,
to answer your question, that really the remote work strategy, we keep watching it and understanding where the market's going, but we're not afraid to go to where the talent is.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And, it's consistent with what we've seen on our side, right? Where, some of my customers have been able to take advantage of leveraging resources that they otherwise wouldn't be able to bring on board because of this work from home strategy. But there are organizations like yourselves that still see a great value in having people in the office when possible. So that totally makes sense. Do you feel like that you guys are missing any opportunities with quality candidates because of still trying to push the work in the office environment and keep that culture strong?
I think any organization is missing opportunities now just because of the fight for talent, right?
Yeah.
Are there individuals out there that perform certain roles that want a fully remote role and we pass on that? Yes, absolutely, that happens, right? Because we as an institution right now, we're not opposed to that, but we don't want to jump feet first into that, right? We're going to be methodical about how we approach this, like I mentioned earlier, and watch.
Yep.
But it is a challenge, right? It's funny, if you talk to people who were hired into roles, I've talked to many folks who were hired during COVID into fully remote roles, and some of them have had a lot of challenges, right? Joining an organization fully remote and trying to get acclimated. So I think while we may have lost some opportunities with people, I think that we're still prudent about the talent that we hire. We're confident in our value proposition as an enterprise. And we're not just going to chase talent. Like I mentioned, chasing digital earlier,
Yep.
you have to be prudent and not chase things, because when you chase things, you wind up making mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jim, thanks again for joining me today and taking the time. Everyone watching, you can visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews, and we will be on here again soon. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jordan.